today's episode, we're going to talk about what is the worst musical advice that someone ever gave you. I'm going to share mine, Hayes is probably going to share his, and also some really bad advices coming from the community.
Hey there, music makers. I'm Hayes Griffin.
I'm Magnus Hayes.
And welcome to the Mandolin Secrets podcast, a show where we take a deeper look at what's happening in the world of mandolin secrets. Each episode, we'll tackle our questions of the week, unpack the latest mandolin secrets lessons, and answer your questions about mandolin, guitar, and all things music. In this week's episode, we're going to be discussing some takeaways from the music summer so far. Also, our questions of the week: what is your favorite instrument that you own, and what's the worst musical advice that you were ever given? But before we dive into this week's discussion, be sure to head to mandolinsecrets.com/podcast to sign up for reminders about our upcoming streams. If you can't tune in live, never fear, just search Mandolin Secrets Podcast on your favorite podcast platform and subscribe to get updates when we release a new episode.
Oh yeah, this is packed with a lot of good stuff, and it's actually been a while since we did a podcast, isn't it, Hayes?
Yeah, it's I've kind of lost count, but has it been almost 2 months or something like that?
I think so. Yeah, that could be. I'm not surprised if it's 2 months, or maybe it's 2 months since we recorded one. There might have been some podcast released in between. I'm not sure, but anyway, and I think the big thing is summer came, the pandemic was over, the music scene exploded. And we've been, so it's been, isn't it nice, things opening up a little bit, but it's also making the priorities a bit harder. I want to start exactly straight into that thing that we were talking about. What is your biggest takeaway from the music summer, Hayes?
Oh, man. Well, we're going to have a whole episode about this one later, but I just realized it's been almost a month since I got back from Sweden to visit you, my friend. That's crazy. Yeah. It's almost been a month, right?
Yeah.
So we had some good festivals over there and stuff like that, but also, like you said, things have really opened up in a big way here in Ohio, where I live.
Yeah.
The band that I've been playing with, Appalachian Swing, we've had gigs almost every 2 weeks, which since the pandemic, that's like that almost feels like a busy schedule, having a gig every 2 weeks.
Yeah. I'm totally with you. And for everyone not knowing it, me and Hayes, we haven't met in person in about 7 years. Before he now came to Sweden, and we spent 2 weeks together, and it was such an amazing time. It was like a 2-week music festival almost.
Yeah, pretty much the Mandolin Secrets Festival.
Yeah, that's kind of the experience of it. We went to these events, and I also just remember like you and me sitting in the garden. Maybe it was even the first day that you came here. We sat at the front. My daughter played it in this trampoline thing, and we were just picking tunes, and it was so much fun, and the weather was amazing at that point. Well,
absolutely.
Yeah. And summer isn't over yet. There's also more music happenings, of course. I'm looking forward to a recording session here coming up the coming week. I have still a festival to play in late August, so a lot of things happening.
Man, that's funny you mentioned recording session. I'm leaving our session today to go to a recording session.
Yeah.
So it's busy, right, man?
Yes. Is it like you're preparing for a new album, or what are you recording?
New album with Appalachian Swing, full band album this time. Me, Adam Schlenker, Todd Sams, a great banjo player, and George Welling, great bass player.
Interesting. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to your recording too. I remember you talking a bit about that too. What's going on with that session?
Hey, it's me, my trio Nordic, and we are playing together with an string orchestra of 15 string players. So they are like classically trained, obviously, and they are it's our tunes arranged for this setting, and it's played about, I would say, 8 to 10 concerts with them the last years, and now it's time to record this music, so it's going to be very fun. A lot of people involved, everything from, I mean, it's not only the orchestra, there's also all these technicians and staff around it, and I know many of these, and it's great people to work with. The whole lineup, sort of. So
that's awesome. Fun. It sounds like a really cool ensemble.
Yeah. It's gonna be really good. Okay, but enough from me and you. Let's see what the community has on their mind. And you had a number of questions there. Which one do you want to start with?
Oh, man. I think I want to dive straight into what's the worst musical advice that you were ever given, because that one had some pretty funny and also like relatable answers when it came to the community.
Yeah.
I'm
also interested to hear. I have my answer, but let's keep it for a little while, because and honestly, I had to kind of go back in history and through my mind to see what is the worst, because there's been a few over the years, hasn't it?
Yeah, man. Oh, man. It's so funny. I got to read some of these comments from the Facebook group, because I'm scrolling through looking at this right now. There's the first one. This is from my buddy Dave Mason. He's a guy that I've played some music with around, but he posted the worst musical advice he was ever given was end every song with shave and a haircut. I don't know if you know that reference, but yeah.
And that one?
Yeah. Oh. So literally end every song with that. Like, I don't know about that.
So someone seriously told him to do it, and yeah.
Yep. And then there's another one from our friend Pepe that says, "Don't study, just play." I can see why that's bad advice, you know.
Yeah. And it's I can see where it's coming from, and probably from a person that haven't studied himself or herself. But there's things and opportunities you're missing out on if you picking up on that advice as a true.
Oh, man. Absolutely. And Dwayne Keith has another kind of related one on that topic right there. Mm-hmm. Number 2, he had a couple ones, but his second one was, you don't need ear training when you can get tablature. Oh. Yeah, I'm like, whoa, all right, yeah. That's kind of interesting. I mean, anyone that knows us knows that we like ear training is definitely a big thing that we love.
Yes.
And we give tabs to all of our students and stuff like that, but it's more like both can help you, maybe, right?
Absolutely. I think it's interesting because to see this question in a bigger perspective, we gotta ask ourselves, so if there's an advice coming your way, I think there should be like a follow-up question. Okay, so what is the results you got out of using that approach, sort of?
Absolutely.
And I think that the persons giving these advices, they probably have a point with it. You shouldn't do ear training. You don't need it because there's so much tabs out there. Okay, so what the result did you get out of this? Well, I know 100 tunes because I have this big pile of tabs that I just downloaded for free. I mean, so there's probably I think it's that if we consider it as a truth, and it's also, I mean, I would say both you and me are quite, because we're teaching a lot, we're giving lots of advices, but we're like to be open that we're not giving truths, sort of. This is and you and me are we are giving advice as a teacher and as a student, and
I think you have to keep that into perspective. And one thing that I think you're honing in on that I had in the back of my mind when I was asking this question is that people, when you're given advice, that advice can oftentimes, most of the time, in fact, be a reflection, more of a reflection of the person giving the advice than what the receiver actually needs. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So there, like you said, there are some truths in there, like that person gave that advice based upon their personal experience. But we've all got a journey that we're on, and it might not be the same, you know?
No. And that puts us in a tricky situation as, like, what do you call it? Well, teacher or an go-to person and expert or whatever it is, you know? Because I mean, just yesterday I answered the question: what is like can you recommend some octave mandolin strings for me? And I can recommend the ones that I'm using myself. But is that the answer that is best for the person asking? Maybe not. So I want to like at least open up the and it's tricky because I can't like list every option there is. I mean,
you could.
I could. No, but then it wouldn't be any help. Probably
it wouldn't be advice at that point, right?
It
would just. Yeah.
So it's, and I'm using that one as an example, but it's I think this ties into the worst advice that I got, because that came from a teacher that I respected a lot. It was my first year at the music college in Sweden, and this teacher. Also, after seeing a concert of me playing, so what he told me was that I shouldn't move as much as I do. He thought I moved too much when playing mandolin. And I was like, of course, this is this person telling me, so of course he's right. So
it has to be.
He has to be. It's a professor.
Yeah, exactly. He gets paid to give advice.
Yeah. So I've for years that was a truth for me. I had to stop moving so much when I play music, then I came to a point where it was really like counterproductive. How to say it?
Yeah, counterproductive. Yeah, that's a great one.
Yes, because I think so. After getting the tensions to my shoulders, after getting tensions to my wrist, after dealing with all this massage therapist, with all the yoga, with everything, I realized that maybe the movements isn't my problem.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not sure if I even have a point right here, but when I allowed myself to actually move, I released some of the tension that it came out of me, like trying not to move.
Yes,
and I think. I think it ties into what you said. I think this guy had to remove movements from his playing to be able to play in the way that he wants, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also realized that maybe I don't want to even play like this guy.
But that's a great, like, the answer that he gave you doesn't leave that option on the table as an answer for you, right? Like no. when someone gives that advice like that, you don't even consider, like, there's no, because it's a binary answer. There's only A or B. You either move or you don't move. You don't even consider, like, well, do I even want to play like this guy that's telling me this thing?
Yes.
You know, that's like a whole other bigger question, you know? So that's amazing to hear that, man.
Yeah. And also to put it into a bit of a context, this was a he didn't play mandolin, and also coming from more classical background. I respect this guy a lot, but it was an advice that was given to me that cost me way more trouble than it helped me.
Yeah, I think, I mean, that's like, if I'm gonna piggyback off of what you just said, like the worst advice that I was ever given. Maybe not the worst, but at least it ranks up there in the top 3 worst advice. Like I was told that I shouldn't focus on playing fast, and that by playing slow, you'll be able to play fast. And you and I have had this conversation before. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That to like build speed, you actually, like, the analogy, I always remember this from your mandolin boot camp that you give, like once a year. Like, you don't get better at running by walking faster and faster. You know what I mean? And I think it was the same kind of scenario, this advice that I was given. It was from a professor who, he kind of disrespected flashy, fast playing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And kind of completely removed the value of any fast playing from music whatsoever, when in fact I think what he was trying to articulate was like, the main focus of your music should be on like musicality, and let the tool serve the function of the music. You shouldn't just be trying to play music that's fast all of the time for the sake of playing fast. But that prohibited me literally for like 15 years from making any progress at being able to play anything fast whatsoever, because I was like, well, I don't need to focus on that. If I just keep going slow, it'll eventually happen.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen,
No, I think also, I mean, it's a pretty common idea that fast is flashy is bad. So, but I also think it's interesting because for some people that only played fast, that was probably a really good advice.
Absolutely. And I think that's where he was coming from. He had seen all these other kids just focus on playing hot, flashy licks.
Yes.
And he was thinking more about his experience in the world than my specific needs at the time.
Yes, yeah. And that is, it's a very common trap for an teacher or an expert, I think, to go into that. So, but it's, but just think of it. I mean, someone that can play fast, of course they played fast. I mean, and most of them can play slow as well, of course, because that's where we build the accuracy, the precision, everything. But it's not like slow is gonna be fast.
No,
I mean, there's some.
No, it's like I mean, you drive a manual transmission car. I know this. Like, it's like by, like, saying that by staying in first gear, if you just like keep pressing the gas pedal when you're in first gear, the car's going to go faster and faster. Like, no, you have to shift gears. You have to go up to second, third, fourth, you know?
Yes, absolutely. And then I think it's, I mean, hearing it totally qualified into a really bad advice. If it's actually also kept you from this for about 15 years, then it's,
And I think I want to zoom out from our entire conversation at this point, because we've kind of sprinkled this in to this question. Like, I've learned a lot from this just talking with you in the last 10 minutes about how to be a better teacher. Like, you know what I mean? I think we've answered our own questions that way. Like, the way to be a better teacher is to like actually think about your student, and is your advice more a reflection of our experiences as teachers or what this person sitting in front of us actually needs, you know?
Yeah. Yes. And we're not gonna stay here on this too long, but that makes me think of eventually everyone want to become their own teacher in a way.
Yeah.
So and that's also our role and as a mission as a teacher and guide, expert, whatever you call it, to make come to the point where you like, it's about experimenting, trying, testing, that we figure these things out, sort of. So
absolutely.
But it's, yeah. We had another question also that we want to do that one before wrapping things up for this.
Yeah, we did have this one, and this is a nice light question to end things on today. I just wanted to get an idea for what folks were playing out there in the community, instruments that is. And it says, what's your favorite instrument that you own? And got a lot of cool answers because, you know, our group is mainly centered around mandolin and guitar, right?
Yeah.
So lots of good mandolins and guitars, but some really cool other instruments out there. Obviously, my favorite that came up in the discussion, let me scroll down and find this one again real quick. We had Chris Miller out there. He has a vintage 22 Red Diamond F mandolin. I was like, oh yeah, dude, there we go. That's the stuff right there.
Yeah. Vintage 22, is that the model you're playing as well?
Yeah, the vintage 22. That's Don's kind of the voiced mandolins, you know what I mean, that he does. Like, so within that series, he has that July 9th voicing we've talked about, and the John Reichman voicing, and all these different ones. Yeah, so there was some good ones, and then there was another one out there. Patrick Schiarino, he has a 57 blonde Fender Mandocaster.
Oh,
like an original, like 1950s Mandocaster, which I thought that was super duper cool. You know, you don't see those out in the wild too much.
Also like very valuable instruments you're mentioning right now, right?
Absolutely. But then, you know, to kind of take another. Oh yeah, what were you going to say, man?
No, was there someone having a, like, picking their favorite nut from the price tag in an obvious way?
Yes. There was one. Jose had a K mandolin that was owned by one of his family members that was kind of like passed off to him. You know what I mean? So that's kind of neat. It was like an heirloom type of instrument. And there was another heirloom instrument out there. Sorry, I'm scrolling through right now to try and find these, but I also
what
found
that means actually. Heirloom.
What yeah, heirloom. So like heir as in HEIR, as in like the person that receives all of your stuff when you die. You know,
heirloom.
Yeah. So an heirloom is like an object that's kind of given to,
like a heritage.
You know, yeah, exactly. And I think they're actually, those words are cognate, like heritage and heirloom, because they both start with like HE. But yeah, what else out there? Yeah, but the heirloom instruments definitely came up, and that's honestly one that I was like, if I had to choose my favorite instrument or one of them out of my yes, here was the other one I was looking at. Kevin Chaney has a 1968 K acoustic guitar, which they're not really expensive, but he bought it new in 1968. It was his first guitar, and he's kept it all of these years. And like, that's really, that's special, right?
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, if I had to choose two of mine, obviously my Red Diamond mandolin is like my mandolin. But my grandmother, she's still alive, but she's kind of given me on permanent loan her 1949 Martin D18, which is like,
that's nice.
Really special instrument, you know.
And
it means
be a
more.
Pretty good guitar as well, I guess.
It's a great guitar, but it's one of those things like, it could probably sound awful, and I would still love it because it was my grandma's. You know what I mean?
I like that. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's about it for the community.
Cool. Good. And looking here at the clock ticking, and we've been here for close to like 29 minutes at the moment. So I'm pretty ready to wrap things up, and I think, Hayes, it would be really nice to also record this special episode, like a little bonus episode, talking about your visit here in Sweden, because there's some stories to bring up right there.
It's even if I hadn't been locked away for the pandemic for the last 3 years, this trip still would have been one of the most special experiences of my life. But having been locked away for the last 3 years, it was so amazing to get over there and see you. So I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. If you want to find the podcast, it's on our website, mandolinsecrets.com/podcast. Any last words coming from you, Hayes?
No, it's great to be back, folks, and looking forward to catching up with you in a new episode soon.
And always remember, be a music maker.